Let's see how we can manage a renovation project or a works variation project. In fact, we have the project group tool, which allows us to manage the surveyed or existing stage of our building and the design phase or the new design by comparing two different project files in two different phases. Let's start off by opening the surveyed stage and notice that all of the elements are represented in yellow. In red we have the design phase of our project, and this is where we'll be making our changes for remodeling our building. Using dedicated remodeling tools, we'll be indicating the entities that we want to demolish. For example, this partition wall, this single door here, or even use a selection window to include multiple elements in the demolition process. Now we can see that the demolished objects are marked in yellow. Let's now proceed by adding new project entities this time. For example, let's insert a new partition wall by acquiring properties from existing ones. Let's now do the same, adding new doors. And notice that these new design entities are all marked in red. A very efficient comparison tool also allows us to dynamically switch between the existing stage to the design stage so that we can see the changes made to the project. This comparison can be shown in color or with normal black and white representation. So far we have been working in the plan view, but we can, as always, work in the very same way using the 3D view, as you can see. So we can use the Demolisher to remove elements on the facade. For example, let's remove these panels and a balcony, and then go in to insert a new window. Again, we can dynamically compare the changes made to our building, first with a simple phasing color scheme, and then subsequently with a typical materials view. At this stage, imagine that you have completed your changes. Clearly, this kind of comparison is important in 3D view, but we also need to have an efficient comparison in terms of our drawing models too. When we generate a floor plan view, the program also gives me the opportunity to generate a compared floor plan view between the surveyed and the design stages. This also applies when producing a cross-section or an elevation view too. Let's see these comparison drawings. Here we have the demolished elements plan, the built elements plan, and finally a comparison. Here's another example using the cross-section plans. Let's now move on to Scene Photomontage or Photo Align tools, a very useful tool for generating a photographic simulation of our building in the surrounding context. A very simple procedure with edit features, so let's add a photo match node under the 3D view. Now select your reference photo in which we want to insert our 3D model, and at this stage start to acquire the perspective from the photo by placing the reference cube into position. and aligning the vanishing lines according to the elements present in the photo, such as this facade, the eave lines and the balconies, and so on. Continue to align according to the photograph. And once that's finished, simply confirm to adjust our model, which is already aligned in terms of perspective. The reference cube is correctly into position now. And now simply align our model to the photograph. We can even then choose to hide certain entities, such as the foundations here. We can also use the transparency effect. Once we've completed the overlay, we can then block it into position. Now, with our model correctly positioned, we can set the correct time for our scene, making sure that the shadows are more or less consistent with the photograph and the shadows used in the photograph. At this stage, making the appropriate settings with quality and resolution, we can then launch a rendering process and produce our photo montage image. Let's now take a look at the final result and see our model rendered within our reference photo. Clearly, as you can see, the result isn't optimal. In fact, you can notice that there are a few errors in this photo. In fact, the render isn't perfectly integrated into the photo's scenario. So we have further post-production tools which allow us to fix this image appropriately and in a professional manner. These tools are easy to use and simply allow us to cut out parts of the model that may be located in background compared to other elements that may be in front of the building or in the foreground. For example, the hedge here, the lamppost and the cars. Of course, the same applies to this lamppost and the electrical box here on the side. We'll cut out the lamppost again. And once we have finished this phase, we can save the final image.